In this video, we are going to go over 7 mistakes that you need to avoid when publishing books on Amazon KDP. Welcome to my channel and thank you so much for joining me here today. One of the great things about pretty much any online business is that there are already lots of people out there doing it already or have done it already and have made a lot of mistakes along the way. So that means you can avoid some of these mistakes that people make, especially at the beginning of their self-publishing journey. And the first one is not doing your research. Research is one of the most important parts of the whole publishing process. For one, you need to know what you're getting yourself into for whatever niche that you want to go in. By that, I mean, if you do pick a niche that is highly competitive, you need to know that so that you know how much work you're going to have to put in to make sales. Instead of thinking that the book will just sell itself, then get upset when it doesn't and wonder what happened. And on the flip side, you might pick a niche that just isn't popular or doesn't have very much demand, and so there isn't anyone out there looking to buy that particular book. If you haven't done your research and that niche is not in demand, then you'll really just waste a lot of time making books that are never going to sell. And there's also another reason that you do need to do research, and that is to scope out your competition. You need to know what you're up against and how you need to make your books, how you need to design your covers and things like that in order to compete against these other books. The next mistake that people make is not creating the best cover. I know everyone goes out there with the intention of creating the best cover, but sometimes there is a little bit of a disconnect between what the cover needs to look like and somebody's skills to be able to create that cover. Or there are people out there who just really don't care what the cover looks like. And particularly with low content books, where there's that mindset of just publishing as many books as they possibly can without any care of whether the books are actually good or not. And then there are some people who just do not have the skills to create really great professional looking book covers, but they also don't have the budget to hire someone to do it for them. I know that a lot of people talk about self-publishing as being an online business that you can start with $0 and make thousands of dollars from it. And on one hand, that can be true, but really only for a few of us. And the reality is that you are competing with thousands and thousands of books that are professionally designed and created. The cover of your book is the first impression that you are giving to customers, and a poorly designed cover isn't going to attract a customer to want to buy it. And it also gives that customer some insight into the possible quality of the interior of that book. If the cover is awful, then they're going to assume that the interior of the book is as well. Another very common mistake is not marketing your books. There is a massive misconception about Amazon overall, whether you're selling physical products or whether you're publishing books through KDP, and that is that Amazon has so many customers, which they do, that you can just put your product up for sale and customers just flock to it and buy it, making you thousands, even millions of dollars without you having to do a thing. Maybe 5 or 10 years ago, this was true, but nowadays, the fact is that there are so many people selling products on Amazon. There are so many products available. There are so many books available for sale that you really do have to put in the work to at least get those sales started. Amazon is not going to do that for you. You do have to do some kind of marketing, whether that's just sort of launch marketing when your book is first published, or whether you want to continue to market it to keep those sales consistent and ongoing. But you do have to do something. Thinking that all you need to do is publish books and only that is a big mistake. And I feel like this is where a lot of people actually go wrong. When I see people in Facebook groups or within comments of YouTube videos saying, "Why haven't I sold any books?" I would almost guarantee that they have not done any marketing for their books whatsoever. The next mistake that people make, and is a very overlooked part of the book creation process, and that is not formatting your book correctly. First of all, Amazon KDP does have a bunch of requirements for how books need to be formatted so that when they are printed, they look good, and so that parts of the text and images within the book are not cut off in the printing process. In addition to this, even if the formatting you've done does adhere to KDP's formatting requirements, there is also an aspect of the book where it needs to be aesthetically pleasing to the eye. So when a customer buys that book and they receive it, and they open it up, the text is easy to read, it's not too big, it's not too small, it's not in an illegible font, the text or images, if there are any images, are placed appropriately on the page, so not off center or too high or too low or having too much blank space on the page. If you're making a puzzle book, for example, making sure that the puzzles are easy to see, not too big, not too small, or if you are using illustrations on your puzzle pages, that they're not covering up the puzzle. Formatting is super important, so you really do need to familiarize yourself with what the requirements are for KDP and what you need to be able to do to actually publish that book to get it approved by KDP. Sometimes it can get very frustrating when you're trying to get your book approved for publishing, but it keeps getting rejected for formatting issues that can easily be avoided if you know the requirements firsthand. It really does just waste a lot of time. You can outsource the formatting of your books if it's something that you struggle with or where you feel like it maybe just takes up way too much of your time. And sometimes, even though it does cost you a little bit of money to have somebody else format the book for you, it will save you a lot of time and probably a lot of frustration, and can even help with sales if it is formatted better than how you can do it yourself. The next mistake that I see, which is unfortunately all too common, and that is just not putting in the effort. If you are someone who takes pride in their work, you might be thinking, who wouldn't put effort into something that they're creating? But as with any kind of online business, there are people out there who are just in it to make a quick buck. So instead of creating something of value that customers would actually like, want, and use, they are just out to throw up as many books as they possibly can in the shortest amount of time, with the idea that the more that they have published, then the more there is a chance that some or just a few of them might actually sell. And they are all just about quantity over quality. And these are the kind of people who unfortunately sort of ruin it for the rest of us who are trying to do the right thing, create really high quality books, and build legitimate businesses. Also, low content books are notorious for being very quick and easy books to make. And this is true when comparing to high content books like novels that take months, sometimes even years to write and create and publish. You can create low content books, sometimes in just a few hours, but not everyone can create low content books that quickly. And I think people have this perception or have become accustomed to the idea that because it is a low content book, it should only take a few hours to make and it shouldn't require that much effort. And so they rush off and rush through getting it made just to get it published so that they can then move on to the next book, instead of taking the time and effort to make that one book the best book that it could possibly be, the best book that it could be in that niche. And not putting effort in extends beyond just creating and publishing the book. People often don't put as much effort into the listing as they should, like not creating really compelling descriptions to help sell the book, not creating any A+ content, not building out their Author Central page, and not putting any effort in off Amazon into marketing away from the Amazon site with things like email lists or social media. I see so many people not putting any effort in at all and then wondering why they don't make any money. The next mistake that I see a lot of people make is keyword stuffing. Keyword stuffing is a term used to describe filling titles or subtitles and descriptions of books with just a whole bunch of words that don't really make any sense, but are being used purely to try and rank in some kind of search result. Amazon doesn't allow this, and most times books will not get approved if the listing is stuffed with keywords. In fact, it doesn't even have to be stuffed with keywords. Sometimes you can't even use the same word twice in the title or subtitle when submitting a book to Amazon. But the fact is that many do slip through this approval process and end up making it for sale in the Amazon marketplace. First of all, it just looks awful and unprofessional and really spammy. Secondly, it will most likely get picked up by Amazon at some point, and books will be removed for sale from the marketplace, and you can even get your account terminated for doing it. And we all know once your account is terminated, you cannot start a new one. Just keep your books and your books listings professional and legit. The last mistake that we are going to talk about, and one that I see all the time, is doing nothing after publishing. Creating and publishing your book is the first step of many that you have to take to get a book to sell and to continue selling. One of them is marketing, which I mentioned earlier, and the fact that most people don't do any kind of marketing after they have published their books. But there is more than that. There's getting reviews, cultivating a brand off Amazon with a social media presence, building an email list, and part of building a brand is more than just the books. It's amazing to see so many people creating just one book, publish it, and then do absolutely nothing, including not making any more books. Maybe they do this, maybe they don't make any more books because the one that they did publish didn't sell, which obviously it didn't if they didn't do anything to help make it sell. So why waste more time making more books that aren't going to sell? But if you are going to be publishing books that are related, that are within the same niche, a lot of times more books sell more books. This means that the more books that you can create and put into a series, the more likely your books are to sell overall. Publishing the book is actually such a small part of the whole process, and sometimes it feels like you are doing everything except making and publishing books. But all those extra things that you do will only help to create a self-publishing business with longevity. So there is 7 very common mistakes that I see that hopefully you can now avoid after watching this video. If you have watched this far to the end of the video, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. I'll see you in the next one.